Hello guys, today I want to be reviewing the React extension I made, or VS Code extension rather, for React Snippets. If you don't know what snippets are, it's just, I guess you have a prefix which is usually a few letters, and once you type that you get some output here of the code. And I'll show you that in a second. So if you want to download this extension and use it yourself, it's live in VS Code, so I'm gonna put this link in the description so you can go here and click install, or you can just go to extensions and search for it here. Don't mind the name, that's just me being stupid, but yeah, that's how it's called. And then once you open that, you're gonna have all the prefixes here and what it does, and then this is the line you're gonna be getting once you type this. So this is the version 1 right now, there's not much, but I also want to show you everything I currently have. So there's also like JavaScript and React snippets. It's usually mostly React based, but there's some that you can use in both JavaScript and React. So I'll go over those first. So for example, console log is going to be CL, and then you type anything here. Then the next one is something I also use all the time, which is if-else statement. So the shortcut for that is just I for if, E for else. Then you get if, and then if true, for example. And then once you hit tab, it just moves where it should. So you can write some code here, and then some code here. So that's the if-else. There's also one for switch statements, which is just going to be switch. And I can see here that this is the extension that's coming from, this is the snippet that's coming from my extension here. So if I click that, so we have switch, then you can type something here. Then a few more things I have for the both React and JavaScript is set timeout, for example, is the shortcut is STM, so set timeout. Then there's one for set interval, which is just STI. And then here you can type whatever you need. Then there's one, I don't know why I made this one, but it's just to make fast arrays, I guess. So you can just type ARR, and then you have, let's say, number. You hit tab and it goes here, and then you can do 1, 2, 3. And there's also an quick event listener that you can add, and for that, again, the shortcut is just going to be the first two letters. So event listener is going to be E for event, and then L for the listener, and then it's going to make you this. And for example, we want to add event listener to the button or to the window, whatever it might be. So we can type that. Then we switch here. We want to click event. This should be lowercase. Then we hit tab, and then the code we want to run here. Okay, so those are most of them for both React and JavaScript. Now I'm gonna be starting with imports I have. So to import React is just IR. So it's usually first two letters of the word, so as you can see here. So import React, I is the first letter, R is the first letter of the second word. And then this is what we get. Then we have import React component, which is again I for import, R for React, and C for component. Then for the React router, we have IRR that you can see here. And you can also always look at documentation on the extension itself or on this link. So this is going to give us the whole React router thing. Obviously, you need to install React router before you use it, but this is just the import here. So the next one is ISC, import style components, like that. Then the next one we have is for importing states. So if you want to import use state, it will be IUS, so I for import, U for use, and then S for state. Then it's going to be the same thing for use effect, so import use effect, so IUE. And it's going to be the same for the importing the reference or use ref hook, which is import use ref, so IUR. That's what we get. And then for importing the components, or not component, my bad, for importing context, you can do I for import, Q use, and C for context here. And those are all the imports I currently have. So now we can start with my favorite part, which I always use, which is add ES6 or add a function. So to get that, we can just type ES6, hit tab, and then we get the complete arrow function here, or component with arrow function, and then we can type app here, then it switches here, and you type your code. So this is probably the one I use the most. And then after that, we also have, let me see, one line. So for example, if you need one line function, so if you're only going to return one element, you won't be needing return and these, and you can just add a div here. So I also made a snippet for that. So if you remove this, it's called one-liner. And you hit tab, and this is what we get. So that's also my favorite thing for mostly for using like global components, like a container where you're only returning a single div or a global button. So this is what that's useful for, in my opinion. Then for a function component, the shortcut is just func or fu and c. So that's gonna give us a function component. Then if we want a function component with default export, we can do something called efunc. So like export and then function. And we get an app here. So that's another one. So ES6 is definitely my favorite snippet, but this one is definitely the second favorite. And this is the time saver because I use context in React all the time, so I made a snippet that makes you the whole context file, so you don't need to type everything out. And the way to access that is just type in context. And then once we hit tab, we get the whole context file. And then for the first thing, we can call it like app context. Then we switch to the next thing, we call this app state. And then when we hit tab, these are the values we send. We don't have any right now, but for example, we can send name and set name, let's say. Like that. So now our snippets for hooks comes in. So I have few snippets for hooks. So if you want a state hook, or use state hook rather, you can just type state. Then we get this, and we can type the values you want to send. So for example, in our case, name and set name. So that's our name, or use state here. Then there's another one which is for use effect, and it's just effect. So state for state, effect for use effect. Then type something here, and then this is the dependencies you can add. For example, if we had count. Then there's one for use ref hook, which is again ref only. And then we can set use ref to null or something. So after that, I don't use class components ever, but I wanted to add few options for class components right now because someone else might be using this extension. So there's like normal React create or React class components, which is just RCC, which is the shortcut. And that gives you that. And there's also only one more, which is to get this same thing, but with default export, and that's RCE. So that looks like that. So that's most of the things I have for class components, and then I have few lifecycle methods as well. So for example, component will mount, again the shortcut is going to be CWM, so C for component, W for will, and M for mount. Then another one is going to be component will update, which is CWU. And the last one for that is going to be CDM, which is component did mount. So usually how I made the snippets is always going to, most of the time actually, not always, but most of the time is affected by the first letter of the word. So if it's import React component, is It's IRC and stuff like that, which makes it a lot easier to remember in my opinion. And then the next thing is something I use on a daily basis as well for my styles, which is called Emotion CSS. So I made a snippet for that as well. So emo is the shortcut for that. And this gives us an arrow function component here. And it also gives us these two lines. These are the lines you need to use in every file when you're using Emotion. So that was pretty nice to have, since I'm always using that. And then since I always keep the same styles or variable for the styles, I made that as well. So if I type CSS, this is how I usually have it. So it's const styles equal to CSS. This is related to if you're using Emotion. Then I also made two global components. So first of them is the button. And then this is mine, and if you click that, you get the whole button here. And this is just a simple, I guess, button with one prop that you can send if you don't want to type it out, because that's the thing I mostly use. And then another one which I use all the time is global container, which accepts children inside of it as a prop. So if you type container, hit tab, we actually get the whole container component with children here and passing children inside of it, so we can use it later on. So that's also the thing I use the most. And then the last thing, I think we came to the end. There's only one more thing, and this is the thing everyone I feel like uses in React every single day, which is map. So I made a snippet for map here, it's this one. And then if you click map, you get the whole thing. And then for example, if we had an array of numbers, so you can do numbers here, dot map, and then let's say for each number, and it's also adding index here, it's adding key to key being index for default, and then it's just passing number here. You would probably do, like if you had an array of few things, you would do number dot something, but right now we're just displaying that. So that would be the last snippet I currently have. Like I said before, this is the first version I released, so there's not a lot, but I guess it could be helpful for some people that use this, especially for like making your own states, use effects, use refs, making context file, and probably, I don't know, it doesn't even take a second. Then imports are pretty useful, I would say. Probably the most useful things, if I go from start to bottom, would be ES6 for arrow function component, one-liner. Then let's see, context is my favorite again. Then for hooks, you have state, effect for use effect, ref for use reference. Then since I'm not using class components, I won't be covering this that much, or lifecycle methods, but they're there if you guys use class components. Then Emotion CSS is what I use on every single project I do, so this is pretty useful to have. Container is also something I mostly use for every single project. And then these are also pretty useful. Like the most useful here in this list is probably map. That's something you're almost always gonna use in React. Also set timeout, set interval, simple event listener, and stuff like that. So again, if you want to check this, you can search for React Code Snippets, that's how it's called, and then you can install it either through here or this link in the browser, and I'm gonna paste that in the description. You can go to this link and you can click install, or just find it inside VS Code and install it there. And then once you come to this page, there's all the documentation added here, so you can see how everything works. You're gonna see the prefix here, what the function does, and then the output which you're gonna get when you type this ES6. And I covered everything here, but if you guys have any more ideas that I can add into this extension, please do let me know, because like I said, it's only the version 1 at the moment, but I plan on adding plenty of more things that people are gonna use. So if you have any ideas, please do let me know. And that's gonna be it for this short video. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.